Arcade Perfect, my arse. Okay guys, welcome to another Arcade Perfect My Arse. This week I'm going to take a look at Pang. I was playing a remake of this on the Atari 8-bit and I just thought I've not actually done a look at this, all the different versions of this, so let's crack on. This is obviously the arcade one we're taking a look at. Let's just get the thing going. Hey, have you got to start? Oh, I think you can actually pick where you start. Now the idea of the game is to basically destroy, is to not die. Yep, the idea of the game is to destroy all the bubbles and try and not die in the process. It's it's very, very tricky. What I should really do here is use the... Yep, one hit and it's curtains. Ah, come on. It's not a game I've played very often, as you can probably tell. Let's go again. Now you can have simultaneous even, two-player action. As you can see, there's multiple power-ups. Hurrah! That stops the timer. The secret's to try and stay out of trouble. Something I'm not managing too well. Ah, bollocks! They do reckon the average player in any arcade game doesn't last any more than 2 minutes, and I'm probably putting that to the proof of the pudding, although I would say that I'm probably even worse than 2 minutes. Now, like asteroids, it's probably better you try and don't go daft and destroy everything, because you'll end up with lots of little bubbles bouncing all over the place, and trying to control them is nigh on impossible. You move around the world as well. I'm not quite sure whether these platforms actually help or hinder you. I think probably the latter actually. Whoa. Right, come on. I am assuming I can't die. Maybe I can now. Ah! Arse! Right, let's go for one more quick go. Okay, right, got some ladders to contend with. Ah, bollocks, that's not going to be good. I'm going to have to go back across. Right, anyway, enough of the arcade one, let's take a look at some home versions. Right, kicking things off guys, we've got Pang on the Game Boy, Nintendo's little handheld wonder. Never ever played the Game Boy version. Graphically wise, it's actually really nice. Got the wee cutscenes as well, you know, what more do you want? Obviously the arcade version does have simultaneous 2 players, which I'm not going to get with the Game Boy one, unless of course you could maybe do a link up. I'm not quite sure if that was utilised or not. The problem with that is you needed 2 Game Boys obviously, and you also needed 2 copies of the game. But that is a surprisingly good version. It's got little cutscenes as well. The screen's obviously slightly smaller. I don't mean physically smaller, but the actual dimensions of the screen, it does seem slightly more cramped than the arcade, when the arcade one was quite wide. But overall, it's pretty good. Moving on to Mount Kieran. This introduces, whoops a daisy, this introduces some ladders to negotiate. Does make it slightly more tricky because you've kind of got to obviously go up and over to get to the other side, and you're always kind of a lot more exposed when you're higher up. Ah, why did that not? I picked up that dynamite. No idea what happened there. So anyway, that's the Game Boy one. That's pretty damn good. Let's take a look at another version. And this is the Spectrum one, with a nice little coloured introduction bit, and then we're back to the we're back to the monochromed glory. Now you can see there they've managed to successfully retain, you know, the sort of the actual aspect ratio of the game. The graphics are really detailed as well, and it's super responsive, and also slightly easier than the Game Boy one. And what is nice is I've even got the sort of shading and the bubbles as well, which is something severely lacking in a version which we'll see shortly. It's just a pity that, you know, the Spectrum really, it always had detailed graphics with games. Well, it didn't always have, but it was capable of detailed graphics. But the biggest flaw for the Spectrum was the lack of colour. You know, if they'd been able to integrate more colours, I mean, they've obviously got this, they've come up with this sort of system fairly recently that allows more colours, so I'm quite sure using that system you would be able to get an almost sort of spot on version for the Spectrum. But this is actually really good. Now I've just noticed there it does say player 2 hit fire, so obviously if you've got, could you have 2 joysticks plugged into a Spectrum? I wasn't aware if you could do that or not. I'm sure you must have. Obviously stuff like there was multiplayer games like Gauntlet and that kind of stuff, so I guess you could also play with the keys. I mean, the keys were a big part of the Spectrum. So yeah, it's got the nice little little kind of cutscene thing when you change levels. Now, I do apologise, I'm actually having something to eat, so just excuse the chomping sounds. This is the only way I can get videos done these days, is I can record the I can record the gameplay side of things when my wife's about, but I need peace and quiet to do that. So she's up in her bed at the moment, so hence the reason I'm able to do the audio part, so just excuse me. But yeah, really good version. Really pleasantly surprised at how good this one is. There's no like sort of noticeable slowdown either when it comes to the sort of the bubbles bouncing about. So that's the Spectrum one. Right, moving on. Excuse me. This is the Atari ST one. Now I've got high hopes for this version. Graphically, it's really nice looking. If I was going to be Mr. Picky, I would say that there's very slight sort of jerkiness with the bubbles. Again, it's got the nice little cutscenes, which is always good to see. But really good use of sound as well. And it actually feels a wee bit easier as well. Stage 2. That little tune actually is quite familiar. I wonder if it's been used in some other kind of arcade game. I'm not quite sure what that little thing is. I just seem to have destroyed it. Is he a goodie or a baddie? I'm guessing he's bad. I think it's a game that would definitely benefit from having two players. I mean, it's a lovely playable little game. Oh! Right, I appear to be glowing. Is that good or bad? Does that mean that I'm invulnerable? I'm not quite sure. I wonder if it's one of these games when you complete it, does it just get to the end of the game and that's it? Or does it keep wrapping round again? Not quite sure. But yeah, this is really nice. That's pretty much arcade perfect. So really, so far we've not had a bad version, but rest assured guys, that is going to be here soon. And it's probably not the version you think it's going to be. I think the secret to this game is just kind of being aware of the bounce of the actual bubbles. You know, if you try and just go daft and kill everything or shoot everything, you're not going to make it. You've got to try and duck underneath the wee balls or bubbles, whatever it is, when they bounce. I'm not quite sure, there's a fruit just bonus points? I'm guessing it probably is. I don't think the fruits power up as such. Must admit, for such a nice game, it's one that I've played very little of. The thing is about arcade games, there are, with introduction of MAME, you suddenly got access to like 5,000 games, and there's always going to be lots of really good games that you just never get a chance to play. But anyway, listen, that's the Atari ST one. That's an excellent version. It's really, it is pretty much arcade perfect. Right, this odd looking one. This is now I couldn't actually get this to play. This is basically demo mode. This is on the PC. It's got a slightly different name. I can't remember what it is. excuse me, what it's actually called, but you can see it is Pang. Although they've got some bizarre sort of background graphics. I did get it running in, is it DOSBox I think it was, but for the life of me I could not get a game to start. But luckily enough there is this sort of demo mode, so this gives us an idea, it lets you see just what the kind of graphics are like. The graphics are alright, it's not the smoothest sort of version I've seen. But for an early PC game, it's not too bad at all. So yeah, I'll let you decide what that actual is called. Right, was that Pompino? What's that? Pumping. I don't know. This is the CD game for the PC Engine. This one is absolutely glorious. It plays so nicely. Yeah, I mean the little PC Engine, it's just it's an amazing console. I mean it was out before I'm sure it came out before like the 16-bit computers. And it's technically, I think it's got two 8-bit processors. I don't know why I even attempt to try and talk technical wise, because I always come out with nonsense which is usually incorrect. But all I do know is the PC Engine was a very early machine, and apparently it still classes 8-bit. But you know, the stuff that it was able to put out was incredible. It was definitely, I would say, it's almost on a par with the Mega Drive. Such a lovely little machine. One which I was lucky enough to get fairly recently, although unfortunately I don't have the CD thing for it. So this is actually running under an emulator. But this is a beautiful version. I get the feeling it's going to be quite tough trying to decide what the best one is. I mean, it looks beautiful. It's got the fluidity of the arcade, the bubbles bounce about, super smooth, which actually makes a difference to the game. It makes playing it feel that wee bit easier. I don't know what the best weapon is. I think the one I prefer is obviously the gun. You can just kind of hammer the fire button. Then you also get the one where it kind of shoots up and kind of grabs on the top of the screen and it just stays in place. So technically, that kind of acts as a barrier for any of the wee ones that are going to kind of hit you. It'll take out quite a few in one go. Oh, of course I've got the invulnerability thing. Yeah, I think the secret is not to burst too many at the same time, because it ends up just mayhem. But that is delightful, that is the PC Engine. Right, this bad boy, this is the Amstrad. Now, more specifically, it's on the Amstrad console, which is the GX4000. I can't actually find a version just for the Amstrad. I don't know if it was ever released on the Amstrad, but I say this is the cartridge version for the GX4000, and it is really nice. Whoa. Yeah, I know that the GX4000 does have slightly more capable hardware than the Amstrad, could it display slightly more colours? If Chris Novabug is watching this video, Chris, can you let me know, was there a version of this released for Amstrad 464? I'm not sure if there was. I certainly couldn't find one anywhere. I've got a collection of Amstrad games which is pretty complete, and I couldn't find this at all. It could well be that given that when this came out for the console, Amstrad would probably want to try and promote their console with having this game, so maybe it was decided they wouldn't release an Amstrad version to try and encourage people to buy the console. I don't know, I'm just clutching at straws. But I would imagine if it was out for the Amstrad, the version wouldn't differ from this very much, because they are very, very similar hardware wise. Again, this plays really well. You can see there press fire for player 2, so you can get the simultaneous 2-player action as well, which is probably how this game should really be played. It's amazing just the difficulty, how they vary from version to version. The PC Engine was probably the most playable, I think. The Atari ST one was very playable as well. But I've got to say, so far we've not had any bad version. Well, the PC one was slightly... I wouldn't say it was bad, it was a bit... I don't know. So this is Mount Fuji 3rd, it says 1-3 stage, right, okay. But this is a really excellent version for an 8-bit machine, you know, it's really good. I wonder if you don't actually destroy it quick enough, does it speed up? Does it start bouncing quicker, or do you get, do you get something else flung at you? You generally find sort of arcade games have something to kind of make you speed up. Anyway, that is the GX4000 Amstrad one. Right, here we go. This is the one I've been waiting for. This is the C64 one. Now I've deliberately left the loading in. This is on the disc. Yeah. This game looks like they've completed the graphics for the main sprite. They've done the backgrounds. They've done the music. Then they've said, right guys, let's get all the bits together. Right, who's in charge of the bubbles? And the guy's like, bubbles? Nope. You didn't ask me to do that. No, it wasn't my job. And they're like, shit, we've got to get the bubbles done and we need to get it out there tomorrow. So somebody has quickly added some red circles, which just look naff. They just look completely naff. You know, a wee bit border black line around them, making them look a bit more like the arcade wouldn't have gone amiss. It just screams unfinished to me, and you get this really annoying black screen in between. I mean, it doesn't play that bad, but it just looks unfinished. I mean, seriously guys, what were you thinking? You're trying to tell me that the C64 is not capable of displaying bubbles? It's got sprites, you know what I mean? Surely that would be perfect for a game like this. I don't know, I said I'm not a technical person, but they've completely ruined the overall look of the game. We're having this big ugly red circle. There's been no attempt made to make it look like a bubble. every other version we've looked at, even the Game Boy, Spectrum, they've all got the shaded bit in. It's just a shame that it looks like they've kind of cut corners with this one. Why go to all the bother of having nice backgrounds, nice sprites, and then finishing at that? Perhaps, listen, if somebody is watching this video who is technically competent with the C64 and you know a legitimate reason why they would have gone for just red circles, I would genuinely be interested to know, because my non-technical brain just interprets that as being a shoddy conversion. You know, I'm sure they could have had black outlines around it, made them look kind of bubble like they do in every other version, but maybe there's a reason for it, I don't know. If you do know, please put the comments below. You know, apart from the bubble side of things, it's alright. You know, the sound's decent enough, the rest of the graphics look alright, it plays fine. I'm not overly keen on the big red line that it shoots up either. It's not very, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being unfairly critical. Maybe they had to leave the red circles like that to keep the speed up or something, I'm not too sure. But anyway, that's the C64 one. Quite disappointing to that version. Game over. Right, this is the Atari 800 one. Now I did do a video of this last week, I think it was. Yeah, it was last week. This is quite a new version. It was written by some homebrew guys, and it's really nice. Somebody had actually mentioned in the comments for the video that I'd done for this how they wish somebody would do a better conversion for the C64 one, and that was what kind of prompted me to have a look at the C64 one, which then prompted me to do this particular Arcade Perfect My Arse video. But yeah, I can completely see where you're coming from. I mean, you know, the Atari and the C64 are pretty spot on hardware wise, and they've managed to get some decent looking bubbles going here, so I don't quite know what the reason was. That wee tune there when you end a level, that is a tune from some other game, but I cannot for the life of me think what one it is. If anybody knows what game it is, please put the comment below again. It just sounds so familiar. That wee tune there. I know it. I really have heard that before, and it's not in Pang. Well, it is in Pang, but that's not the first place I heard it. There's a sticky dynamite. Oh, it's all getting frantic. Oh. Ah, of course, with this one, you've got the energy thing at the top, so you think you're doing better than you are. You think, oh, I'm not actually getting hit. But then when you look up to the top, you see your energy falling, so... But this is a great version, it really is. Yep, you could say it's cheating slightly because this one did come out later on, some probably 20 odd years, 30 years possibly after the rest of them. But it's still a conversion, so they all count. Yeah, this is the C64 version that should have been. I think if I had shown you this version and told you it was a Commodore 64, you'd probably believe me. I mean, I would certainly, I would struggle to realise it's not. The only thing that might make me realise is the sort of colour palette. I don't think the C64, if you look at the different sort of pinky colours it's got there, I don't think the C64 had that. Didn't have that many colours. Anyway, That's Atari 800 one, really nice. Right, okay, this is the Commodore Amiga one. This was the version that I did play quite a bit back in the day. This is rather nice. Graphically and the sound is excellent. Very, very faithful to the arcade one. Yep, I need to start thinking now what one is going to be my favourite, because there have been some absolute beauties. I mean, when I do my little roundup at the end, you know, you could say what is the most impressive from a hardware point of view, and it might well be an 8-bit one. But as far as what is the best version, you know, if you want to play the best version of this game, what one would you play? So that's what I need to kind of bear in mind. But you know, when you see a conversion like this, it just shows you just how capable the Amiga was in the right hands. I mean, some of the early games in the Amiga, especially some of the conversions, they were straightforward ports from Atari ST, which weren't always the best. Come on, get it, you fool, that's it. I'm just waiting for the Street Fighter Japan when you move in the map. Ooh, that's not always a good thing, that dynamite. But yep, this is rather nice, it really is. I think this game also did appear for the PlayStation. I don't know whether it was on a sort of a compilation or whether it was a standalone game, but I haven't included that because A, I don't have the game, and B, I'm guessing it probably wasn't a straightforward conversion. It was probably its own kind of an upgrade type thing, although a lot of these upgrades in the more modern consoles, they were never as good as the originals. Whoa! I'm sure this just came in a single disc, you know, which is awesome, absolutely awesome. You can tell a lot of love and attention is going into this version, you really can. Oh, come on later. Take them out. What does the carrot do? Is it this bonus points? No, I'm not going to see. Right, anyway, that is the Commodore Amiga one. That is really nice. Let's move on to the very, very last version, which is the Super Nintendo. Now, as was the case back then, they always, any version that came out for the SNES, they always put the word Super. Probably because it was a Super Nintendo. This is Super Buster Brothers, which is Pang. Changed the graphics ever so slightly. They've also got slightly different graphics and layout. In fact, probably the levels are slightly different. So you could probably argue that one's not really an arcade conversion, but it's enough of one, I reckon, to warrant, you know, been in this. I don't know why they always saw fit to change levels in a lot of home versions. You know, I know sometimes they would add extra levels, whatever, but why do they change it? I don't know. Java Island. So yeah, it's kind of inspired by, I suppose, but it is, for all intent and purposes, it is Pang, isn't it? I think you'd have to be Mr. Picky from Picky Avenue, Pickystown, to argue that this is not Pang. So anyway, listen, this is a nice version. To recap, okay, right, starting off, PC Engine is absolutely sublime. It's on a CD. It's an astonishingly faithful rendition of the arcade game. Really good. SNES, obviously you can see here, it's an excellent game. It's not quite, it's based on the arcade one. It's changed the levels slightly, but it's an absolutely top version. The Game Boy one's really nice, considering the limitations of the Game Boy. It's black and white, quite a small screen, but again, it looks and plays like the arcade one, which is great. ZX one, it lacks the colour, but again, graphically wise, it does look like the arcade. It's got the same perspective, it plays really nice. Commodore 64 one, really disappointed with that version. It looked like it could have been really good, but it looks like they forgot to do the bubble graphics until the very last minute, and they just flung in some basic red circles, which to my mind completely spoils the look of the game. Amstrad GX4000 is a lovely version. It is by far and away the best 8-bit version there is, absolutely top notch. The Atari ST one is really good. It looks and sounds like the arcade one, maybe not quite got the sort of fluidity of the Amiga one, but an absolutely stonking version nevertheless. Commodore Amiga one is lovely, really faithful to the arcade one. Graphics, sound, playability, top notch. The DOS one, PC DOS one's slightly an oddball. It looks like it's kind of done its own thing. It's similar to this one. It's kind of based on the Pang game. They've changed the graphics slightly, but it still plays like Pang, and it's not a bad version. So right, okay, this is going to be tough. I'm going to go in third place. I'm going to go for the GX4000 version. It's an excellent version. Yeah, it's not got, the graphics aren't quite as crisp with the same colour as some of the other versions, but that's to be expected. It's an 8-bit console, so that's going to be in bronze position. Silver wise, I'm going to go for the Commodore Amiga one. It's virtually arcade perfect in my opinion. It's really nice. But in gold position, I am going to say the TurboGrafx CD one. It is arcade perfect, beautiful version, really nice. The SNES one gets a special mention. It's an excellent version, but they've kind of slightly changed the graphics a wee bit, so that's why I'm not going to include that. So yep, bronze position is the Amstrad GX4000. Silver position, I'm going to go for the Commodore Amiga, and gold medal position is going to be the TurboGrafx or PC Engine version. Okay guys, that is it. That's another arcade perfect in the bag. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If there's a game you want to see featured in this, please just put your comments below, and if I've not already done it, I shall endeavour to do it. And finally guys, thank you very much for watching.